Welcome. My name is Melvin Muhammad. I'm the interim director of 10,000 Fearless Men and Women of Omaha, Nebraska, LLC. This is our first inaugural meeting that we're having. And so what I thought with the inaugural meeting, what I wanted to do, since there's so much conversation in other communities about sex trafficking, whether that be male and or female, it's a phenomenon that needs to be discussed, and I found that in our community, there happened to be no discussion. So I had a few conversations with a few people, at least in one of those, and we talked about it here and we talked about it there, but it got to a point where it was more and more in the news, and I've got some things I want to show you as we move forward. When I first started this, the ideal I had was simply based on statistical data that black women are at risk more than any other woman in our community or in the communities of the United States. But that does not exclude the Native American women, that does not exclude Asian, Caucasian, and the Latin-speaking or the Spanish-speaking ladies in South and Central America and around the world. This is, as you'll see in some of the slides, a billion dollar industry. So, a few housekeeping rules. The restrooms are to the south as you exit out the door. There's some refreshments back there, water and some cookies, and I think there's some mints. You're welcome to take notes. There's a notepad back there, a colored notepad. If you want to tear some of those open and get those and get a pen, please share those. Okay, so let's do this. Let's introduce yourselves by first name if you like. That way I won't be looking at you and not knowing. I may not remember your name. Okay. But I'm going to do my very best to acknowledge you by name. Now that large notepad right there, that's for the questions or things.
Okay.
We'll hang that up. If you want to scribe, you want to be the scribe, we'll use that and we'll hang those questions or those comments on the wall, and that way at the end of the class, we'll take a look at those and try to answer those as best we can, because we cannot do it all in one 3-hour session. We're going to have to come back. And I welcome you to come back and participate, not only in the conversation, but in the demonstration as well. Okay. Any questions of me? All right. Let's see if we can get started here. Okay. See if I can go back here. Hurting, hunting, girls and women, a world in crisis. In the martial arts world, my name would be Sensei, Melvin or Sensei Muhammad. Okay. You can call me brother, you can call me Sensei, you can call me Mr. Muhammad, however you choose. This is being presented by 10,000 Fearless Men and Women of Nebraska, of Omaha, Nebraska, LLC. Facing a devastating sex trafficking crisis, not limited to vans, strangers, and abductions. Social media warnings of white vans that look from the outside and follow school buses, arrests in several states, accounts for black women being about kidnapping attempts, and thousands of missing women and girls have raised fears about increased sex trafficking in the black community. The problem, however, is wider than the strangers snatching young girls and women, though that happens. It includes a phenomenon, buses, and abuse and failures, said advocates fighting to discourage. Any questions? Okay. That's what the graphics look like. Black missing. It's kidnapping. This is a gentleman holding a gun. I'm going to call him a gentleman. I'm going to call him a beast. Holding a gun, and they've mirrored out the face so that to protect the innocent. Who cares about black women, black girls and women? Who cares about women? The Black and Missing Foundation says black people, just 13% of the American population, or almost 40%, 230,302 of all missing persons. Black women, just 7% of the American population, or 10% of all reported missing persons cases, said the foundation in 2018. Roughly 64,000 black women and girls went missing. And that's just in our community. It doesn't show the graphics, and the next time I visit with you on this, I'll have graphics from each community. Okay? But this is what it's based on. This is a pie chart that actually shows from the FBI records. At the end of December 31st, 2018, that figure that I gave you of 230,302 minorities were reported missing in the United States out of 612,846 of all races. That's the total. And yet, that population, almost 40%, are in the black community. There's a lot to be said about why, and we're not going to go into that as of yet. African American youth are at an increased risk for domestic minor sex trafficking, with being female living in an urban area and experiencing abuse prior to trafficking. All being factors are associated with risk for sex trafficking. Of the over 300,000 minors in the United States who are victims of domestic sex trafficking, it is estimated that 43% are African American girls, according to research by FEMA. Brian Davis, a PhD at Pepperdine University. The U.S. Justice Department has reported that of confirmed sex trafficking victims whose race was known, 26% were white and 40% were black. So there is a disparity in numbers, 20% to 40%. So half of what is being experienced in the black community mirrors that which is being experienced in the white community. I don't have those figures for Asian community yet, but in the next segment, hopefully we'll get all that done for you. Now, advocates and survivors believe many missing women and girls are victims of sex trafficking. A 15-year-old Houston girl ended her life in mid-October. The young Latina disappeared at age 13, was drug and sex trafficked. Her family found her 2 years later, but she was never the same. Family members are brokenhearted when she killed herself. This is a 13-year-old girl, missing for 2 years. A few years ago, around 80 girls in Washington, D.C. went missing in 1 month. And it was crazy to me, the narrator says, that nobody was talking about it. The same thing here. It was crazy to me that as much as this is going on around the country, nobody was talking about it. And considering Omaha, Nebraska's history of some unsavory dealings, this is going on, and we're not talking about it. And someone say, well, why would you want to talk about it? I guess God put it on my mind to say it, to talk about it, to present it, and now I'm in it, I can't stop, I won't stop. Moving on, see, she made a song and a video called Shoot, about black women being abducted and taken against their will. Nobody was talking about it, no news was talking about it, and that made me feel some kind of a way. And the more research I've done, the more I've learned that this is really a big problem. And that mirrors me. And for the last week, I've tried to get some good sleep, maybe go to bed at 11 o'clock, sometimes later. I've been only sleeping 2 to 3 hours a night for a week. Because I would wake up and I'd have more on my mind, and I'd go right to this computer and try to find more and more data to support what I wanted to present to you today. Now, this young lady, I don't have to read it. If you can see that, you can read it. She's doing this. Went and pumped her gas, which is, you know, this and pumped her gas and talking on the phone, not paying attention. And then what happens? Somebody comes up behind her. Now, here's the thing. She could have screamed, that's fine. But who's listening in our community to screams? They could have shot her with a hypodermic needle, drugged her, immediately sedated her, and she would succumb to the sedation. Okay? Little did she know. Look, somebody's watching. But little did she know. There they are. There they are, waiting. Well, she was on the phone, not paying attention to the gas pump. How many of you use the gas pump outside with your debit card? Okay, let me share this with you. I work at one of the major banks. I'm not going to give them perks by name. I work at one of the major banks. When you use that outside terminal, that card reader, simply by design, they can put an apparatus over the top of that and get all your data and everyone else's data that uses it. And that's how your card comes up being used and you have fraud on your account. It's because we will not go inside because of convenience. And it would take you at least 10 days to 2 weeks to get your money back once they rip your debit card into your account. And so if you need money like me, and you're like everybody else in America, you take $300 or $400 out of someone's account and you tell me I can't get it back for 10 days? And you want to blame the bank. You can't do that. Blame yourself. Because now you've been told, stop using the outside because it's convenient. But sex trafficking, it says down here somewhere that this is a $1 billion industry. There it is. $99 billion. $99 billion trafficking modern day slavery. Affects 4.3 million people worldwide. What else is in here? Every woman forced into sex trafficking generates approximately $100,000 a year. Someone that's not being trafficked, only $22,000 a year, but you're still a slave doing something. This is a website, #SaveOurGirlsUSA. It continues to tell us that there is a problem and no one's talking about it. And what is lacking, the urgency, is education. And I'm not suggesting that we have to do other than what we're doing as parents, but we have to do more because our children now are constantly on the cell phone. Okay? And all you got to do is accept someone as a friend. You don't know who the heck they are unless you know them by name. But someone you, boom, like, and now they have access to you. And they say, and they do, and they send pictures, and sooner or later, you're being groomed, or your child is being groomed to participate in something illicit and they don't even know. Or sometimes in the other communities, they go and meet these people. And I shared this with you. I had a call one morning. The person had locked himself out of their online account. You get 3 security questions. Is that right? Okay. First question was, what was your first job? This young person happened to be about 17, 18 years old. I can tell by the date of birth. She told me her first job was a prostitute. And I sat there, silent for seconds, typed it in, hit enter. I said, that's the correct answer to her first security question. After that, I was done. Okay? Situational awareness. At the gas pump, situational awareness. Okay, when you walk to your car, I helped a young woman a couple of days ago leaving work, and we happened to be coming out together, and I said to her, here's some things I want you to do. When you walk into your car, I want you to be able to walk to that car and look under the car and see what's there. Do you ever pay attention to something under your car? Okay? And then I said, when you get up to the door, I want you to check the crease in the door and see if there's anything there. okay? And when you walk around, you look on your windshield, or you get in your car and something's on your windshield, leave it there. Because now somebody walk up to you, hey, here's my business card, call me if you need something. And the business card has a fentanyl or something else on it, which immediately gets into your pores, which immediately takes you down. And then you hear the story about the white van that's soundproof. That's real. I've got some video on that out of Chicago with the friends of mine work there and work for the police, and they stripped that van down, and they said, well, you go get in the van. And they got in the van and shut the door, and you couldn't hear the woman scream. You couldn't hear anything. So that's a real phenomenon. So you have to pay attention to your surroundings. How many times are you walking and you have to glance over your shoulder? Okay? I mean, I can be walking sometimes and I go like this. I turn all the way around. Just to make sure. Not that I'm spooky or scared. Could be somebody back there. You know? You never know. And how many of you go to the grocery store by yourself at night? You're not raising your hands. Going anywhere in any community is not safe today. It's really not. Ain't nobody gonna bother me. Okay. You may think that. But social media is the #1 lure to trapping young girls and young boys. Don't get me wrong. This sex trafficking is not just girls. You got young men, young boys, 10 years old, being trafficked. Why? Because we live in a society that has, that's filthy. That's good for me. Filthy thoughts create filthy behavior. And filthy behavior destroys lives. And when you are involved in that behavior, or have been involved in that behavior, it takes a whole lot to get out of that. It takes a whole lot for you to function after that. This is a psychologist, who says we need to tackle the problem before it arises. In other words, if you're talking to your children at age 13, 14, 15, you're too late. You are too late because they have already been exposed to the television, to social media, even the movies that they go to has this kind of behavior going on. So she's talking about there must be conversation in every community. And if you're going to have conversation on Facebook, let's make our conversations on Facebook meaningful and educational. Okay? Social media, as it is used right now, is for entertainment, gossip, and beefs. We want to blow up somebody, we want to murder somebody, we want to do bad, or we want to get on there and be like, present yourself in a manner which make people lust after you. That's not what we should be doing, at least my opinion. But that's what's going on because you see it there. So this is what the doctor's talking about, Dr. Roberts. Omaha Council Bluffs, hotspot. Why? You got Interstate 80 running right through the hospital. You got Interstate 70 running right across Kansas. You got 29 coming right down from north to south on that square. And then in Colorado, you got Interstate 25 coming north out of Wyoming down to New Mexico. So you got a square that has the interstate. And they say, by things that I've read, the greatest thing about interstates now, it has increased the trafficking because it's done basically over holidays. You know why? Because during the holiday season, the traffic is thick. And they're looking for speeders and people who may be trafficking drugs. Very rarely do they bust someone for trafficking human cargo? Are you listening? And here's another thing down here. Young girls who date older boyfriends. Okay? Smooth operators. Promise you the world, fortune and fame. It's been in our culture that we do date as men, young boys are older women, and young girls like older men. They're more experienced in what? Is the culture of a people. But we have to pay attention now because it has gotten to a point where, as I say, it's off the chain. Human trafficking. I wrote this, a call for black men to stand up. These thugs, these beasts are not random people. These beasts are people, oftentimes, that you know. You understand what I'm saying? Your boyfriend's friend and Lucy's husband, sometimes your brother and his friends. And no disrespect, but we have this culture in all communities where we allow men in the homes that we're not married to, and you have female children in that home, and you go to work, or you just gonna run to the Walgreens or Walmart to get something. But he's at home alone with your daughter and your son. And out of shame and fear, they don't tell you. But every time you get ready to go, mommy, don't go, mama. Mama, gotta go, don't go, mommy. See, they're telling you something that you're not paying attention to. But you're not listening because you just gotta have this man. And he's killing the spirit of your child. And ultimately, that will kill your spirit if you don't kill him first. And if that happens, guess what? You still lost your daughter. Okay? Or your son. So we have to find a way as men, whether they be black, white, or Latino, to protect the women in our community. Now, there's some stuff going on in Central and South America as this migration continues. And I'll just be brief because I want to get to the demonstration because we only have, what time is it? That's fine. We want to get to the subject matter and do some demonstration. But imagine, if you will, let your mind go to the border states, and particularly Texas, Florida, anywhere along the Gulf Coast where they have ISIS, the Border Patrol folks. And they have our family in cages. Children, girls, women. And they said they're overran by this migration. So what is happening to those folks? You're not processing them all into the United States on asylum. What's happening to them? Well, maybe you get a 10, 15, maybe 20 women. And you have somebody come purchase them. And they drive off in their truck. Would it be women, young girls, boys? Because remember, previous slides, it was 99 billion. This is about money. It's not about love and care and doing the right thing. It's about money. And we do a lot of things in our community We do a lot of things on social media. We do a lot of gum bumping, and don't realize that everything at this point in our lives is centered around money. And when you have a commodity, and the commodity is human beings that don't care about themselves, or you have human beings where their family and others don't care about them, they will become commodities to be used for financial gain. And oftentimes they look like us. These are not strangers in our community snatching us up. Some, yes. Not all of them. So imagine, you got all the people, our Latino brothers and sisters at the border, all of them in cages. So what do you do with them if you are a wicked, ruler? Let us deal wisely with them, and we can make some money. Now, do you understand when the number one sex trafficker was found dead in his cell when they were supposed to be watching him? But he's dead, or so they say. I don't know, I wasn't there. And I certainly am not that influential to find out whether or not they shipped him out and did plastic surgery to get him out of the country so that he wouldn't tell on all of them. That's a possibility. I don't know. I'm just putting things on your mind to let you understand that we live in a world that exercises power and control over your mind. And we either believe what we see on TV or we don't. 9 times out of 10, we believe everything is broadcasted on Facebook. As young people. Did you see that? You see people being killed on the videos, but you don't see what led up to the person being killed. And you say the police is so bad, but when you get in trouble, when someone's accosting you, who you call? The very people that you say is purposely killing you. Because there's no one else to call. You can't call Ghostbuster. So your conversation, our conversation, has to be appropriately dealt with based on circumstances. Not everybody that says they're bad is bad. And not everybody that thinks and says they're good is good. You have to discern right from wrong yourself in the conversation that you're having with someone. And if the conversation you're having with someone and the radar goes up saying this is not appropriate or this is bad, then you have to back up and change the conversation and change your posture as how you're talking to the individual. Because you don't want to give that individual a reason to hurt you under any circumstance. Gangs. They keep talking about the gangs in Mexico and Central America. They're not just trafficking drugs. But they don't tell you the other commodities that are trafficking. It's all about drugs. Drugs is big business. Okay, don't misunderstand that. But so is human trafficking. And to be honest with you, that is the oldest form of slavery. Human trafficking is slavery. Okay? And the same was it was in the beginning, the trafficked person does not get proportionately paid for the services that were rendered. Conclusion. What is a savage? A savage is a person who lost knowledge of himself or themselves and lives his or their life on a beast level. These are savages. To treat women, children, and the elderly the way that they treat them. That's a savage. And then, the way they treat themselves. There's a prayer that says, surely I have been greatly unjust to myself, and I confess my faults. So, question. If I have been greatly unjust to myself, rest of y'all don't stand a chance. If I'm not going to treat me right, I'm sure I'm not going to treat you right. Okay. Now, that's PowerPoint. I'm going to take a break, and I'm going to set up some videos, and I'll let you hear some testimony, and then we'll get to the square circle and use administration, okay? All right, take 5.
Anti-trafficking organization. Like the people for whom she advocates, she too survived being trafficked.
And I remember staring at the ceiling. I hate stucco. It was a stucco. If I see stucco, I cringe. The first man that purchased me, I thought, are you the guy that's gonna, like, can't you see I'm just a kid, don't you know? I couldn't even find the words.
Human traffickers, how they target and exploit their victims.
They know what to look for.
John Scott's investigation of the dark trade, Saturday on Fox Report.
These are just short vignettes, testimony.
Brother Muhammad, have you seen the new R. Kelly segment?
No.
It's doing rewind, reback, keep going, and it's just unreal. That's crazy.
I don't have those features on my television, so if it's not going to come in, because I cut off all that simply because they want a lot of money for that stuff. All right, this is the vignette 2.
You didn't like that right now?
It may be.
He said, well, you come with me and I can give you some place to sleep, some food. And so his family, they kind of got me to trust them. And then once I trusted them, they revealed their true nature, which was that they were a sex trafficking ring.
Kylie recounts the horrors of what she had to endure while being sold for sex.
It was a living hell. I was on different substances and different drugs depending on the day. I had to have an illegal abortion when I was 11. That was performed on me by another girl who was in the trafficking ring. She was 13, and she had already had an illegal abortion herself.
Human trafficking, the epidemic facing our nation, the battle no one is talking about. John Scott investigates the dark trade, Saturday on Fox Report.
What I particularly wanted to give to you, let's see, it won't bring up my Gmail account. Let's try here. There you go.
start off with a warning that this video does contain adult topics. Today, I would like to introduce you to Ori, an incredible woman who is a survivor of sex trafficking. And this is a topic that I am incredibly passionate about, and I think there's so much misinformation out there. So hopefully, we can all learn something today, but also Ori's story is a story of hope. Regardless of what you've been through, there is hope.
I'm Ori. I am bold, brave, blunt, willing to fight, and that comes from a lot of things that I've been doing in my life. I was born in Churchill State Prison. My mother was fighting murder at the time when she had me. At 2 days, I was adopted by a single mother who worked 3 jobs in order to provide for me. I had a very normal childhood in the very beginning, up until the age of 8, when I was molested by a family friend. By the time I was about 9.5, 10 years old, I experienced a rape, and there was no justice that was ever served. I didn't receive any counseling. My mother never had a conversation with me about it. I think it was very hard for her. So all these feelings of like insecurity and feeling like I don't belong, guilt and shame and dirtiness was bottling up inside. I ended up running away and met a friend. We went to this house, which was like a drug house. She left me and said, I'll be right back. In that house was a male sitting on the couch right next to me. For the first time in my life, somebody asked me, was I okay? After the rapes, after the molestation, after all the bullying, somebody finally asked me, was I okay? I told that man my story in 30 seconds. And he didn't have to come and look for me. Like, he didn't have to come hunt like how normal traffickers do. I fell on his doorstep. I was a kid in need. I needed shelter. I needed clothes. I needed food. And I was going to need someone to take care of me because I was only 11 years old. And I just remember this look in his eye was just like this. I got her. And he started to groom me. And in that grooming process, he was preparing me to be trafficked. And I remember just freaking out in the back, like backseat, like scared. When he got out, was yelling, why are you crying? And he hit me. I want to just go home, I want to go home. And he was just like, where are you going to go? Nobody wants you. And I believed those lies. And he grabbed me by my hair and drugged me down the street. My knees were scraping the floor. There was other women out there, nobody did anything. When you have been forced to sleep with 7 to 15 men and be raped and be 11 years old, I was like slowly dying. And after the first night, you suppress those feelings because any inch of hope that you have, any sense of I can get out, any feeling of there's a God, any feeling of I don't deserve this, you ain't gonna survive out there. By the time I was 12 years old, within a year, I was already raped over 4,000 times. It took me to be 4.5 years in the life until I was 15 years old for someone to finally step up and do something. And that was a man, his name is Jim Carson. And he was the first person in my life to tell me that I was a victim. It was never a choice. It's not a choice for these kids. Whether it was an influence, someone influenced them, whether it was somebody physically forced them into it. There are children whose dreams and innocence was stolen and snatched from them. Children who need someone to fight for them because they can't fight for themselves. Showing up when they don't expect you to, and saying, I care about you, I'm here for you, and I'm not giving up on you. I was starting to see what hope looked like.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being so open. I think there are a lot of misconceptions about what sex trafficking looks like. For example, a lot of people picture, the van with the dark windows and women that are chained out. But in your case, it was manipulation. At 11 years old, I remember wanting to be liked and wanting to feel like I belong. Like, that's all that man needed to show you.
A lot of times, too, a misconception is people automatically think it's somewhere else. Like, it doesn't happen here.
Yes.
It doesn't happen right here in our backyard. A lot of times, that's why we call it the invisible crime, especially now these days of social media. Like, traffickers are using social media in order to recruit young girls.
Okay, this is so important. I think a lot of parents tend to be naive when it comes to social media.
As parents, we think, not my kid.
Yes.
My kid is smart enough to not talk to a stranger. And all it takes is a click of a button, and now I'm followed. And now I'm on your page, and I'm seeing that you're a minor, and boop, now I'm in your inbox, and now we're having a dialogue and a conversation.
Also, people think it's it's a certain type of person. It's the dirty old man who's going to buy sex with a child. But from your experience, it's the guy you would never sue, right?
It's not. It's men who are married, men who different professionals in the field. You know, I've had conversations with these men after things had happened in that hotel room or in that apartment, and talking about their children, talking about their wives. Like, this is a reality of what's going on. Like, it's not what we think.
So they're having sex with a child, and then just kind of matter of fact telling you about their own children?
And going home right to their own family. It's crazy.
You are such an incredible example of the fact that our past doesn't have to define us. If you hadn't told me your story, I would know. You're full of life, you're vibrant, you're funny, you're gorgeous, and the fact that you've gone through this hell and you are now using it, you're working with Saving Innocence, which is an organization that is working to end sex trafficking.
Yeah. Everything I went through in life was in order to be able to help someone else. Now, I got hired on Saving Innocence about a year and a half ago, so I go into the juvenile halls, the same juvenile halls I used to be at, and I get to work with the kids on prevention work. I get to be that person that I didn't have when I was a kid.
The fact that you're using all that pain that you've been through to now help others is so inspiring to me.
You can overcome anything. You know, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be a victim of sex trafficking. You know, it can be divorce. It can be your kids are driving you crazy, or your kids are just trying to figure themselves out. And to know that it doesn't last forever.
Yeah.
And that I can always send the elevator back down for someone and lift someone up instead of tearing someone down for what they've been through. You know, everyone has a story. We all have been through something that has affected us and has made an impact in our lives that can help someone else.
But instead of letting that stuff define you, you are using it to help people who are walking through the hell you walk through.
Because it's just only one small part. It doesn't define me. It doesn't define us.
Do you know your worth now?
Yeah. Most definitely. Just, you know, and every day is still such a beautiful learning moment, though. Just to be able to be a mother to my daughter and to give her this beautiful life that I didn't have, you know, like, that's a good feeling.
What would you tell 11-year-old Ori?
You know, I would tell her that you have a purpose. I want you here. I would tell her that she's strong. I would just hug her. I would just hug her so tightly and tell her I would never give up on her. I would just be there for her. Tell her, like, how much she has to offer to the world. And that she's not broken. And that she's going to change people's lives.
Thank you so much for using your story to help others. There's nothing more powerful.
Okay. As I said in opening up, for the last week or so, going to bed at about 11, maybe 12 o'clock at night and waking up at 3. And not being able to go back to sleep. I normally set my alarm at 5 and I'm up and about. But after waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning for the last week, trying to get material, as you see, there's a whole lot more I have, and we can't cover it all in 1 hour, 2 hours, or even 3 hours. So we'll have to come back. God willing. I gave Terry a tablet to pass around for questions that you might want to ask and want to answer. I hope that the information that I've passed out, everyone gave me an email. Because as I do my best to find out more, to help not just you here, but the people that didn't get an opportunity to come. I can only ask that you talk it up so that they may have an opportunity to have their eyes open. That's a compelling story. 11 years old. can't even remember when I was 11. But it's happening, and I think we need to have more conversation, and we need to get more people involved. When I put together 10,000 fearless men and women of Omaha, Nebraska, this wasn't on my radar. We are to make our community a safer place to live. Well, the only other way that we can do that is that we all have to work toward that. It is not just a male problem that needs to be corrected. It's a female problem associated with males that live in the community to make it a safer place for all of us. My teacher says in a community where there is no so-called no good women, the reality of that is there's no good men. Because if the men were doing the righteous thing, women will automatically gravitate toward that. And so, the other side of that, he said, every so-called no good woman made that way by no good man.